Hello, everyone. My name is Anne Molesky. I'm here with my good friend Victoria Bowler, and we're back for another episode of Teaching Music Tomorrow. And this is a kickoff to an exciting series all about the wonderful world of kindergarten and early childhood, whatever kindergarten, preschool, whatever your first musical experience is with kids and the children that you see in your music classroom. So I am personally very excited about this. I know, Victoria, you are as well, because kindergarten is my jam. As I like to say, I love early childhood. One of my last full-time in the classroom teaching positions was like 20 sections of kindergarten twice a week, and it was
Yeah.
amazing, and I loved it. I got really, really good at a lot of this stuff. So I feel
Well,
like this
and
is
early
totally my
childhood,
wheelhouse.
sorry to
Yeah, go ahead.
interrupt. Early
No.
childhood is also like kind of how you got into education from
Yeah.
what a master's in trumpet. Is that right?
Performance,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like my origin story, right? Not really, but kind of. Yeah, no, so teaching private preschool and doing parent-child interactive classes. So all the foundational stuff that we get to draw on later with older kids. I love it so much. So the way that this is going to work is we have a series of 5 episodes for you guys. So this is the first, and what we're going to do is something a little bit different this time. We have all of the episodes about kindergarten, all 5 ready for you right now in a free course sort of format over on our website at teachingmusictomorrow.com. So if you go there, we'll put it right up at the top of the page where you can click and you can get access to these videos and some extra information like the notation and some other resources for you so that you can kind of binge watch all of these right now or listen to them right now. Or you can listen to them as they drip out, whatever you want to do, but it's there for you. It's there for you now if you want to go check that out with all of those additional resources.
Yeah, and so that's just a place for these videos and the audio and all of the resources and the notation and like
Mhm.
some little extras. That's just a place for all of those resources to live. But it's totally free. Like if you're listening to this right now, you can go sign up for free and grab all of
Mhm.
those.
Yep, absolutely. So today, our first topic of kindergarten is vocal exploration. Now, kindergarten is kind of its own bear. So I should back up a little bit. It's kind of its
Yeah.
own bear in terms of the way that we might structure lessons. So this is something that Victoria and I have kind of been going back and forth about a lot because she has a great blog post and we should link it about an activity-based lesson versus a concept-based lesson. And kindergarten is tricky because if it's our first experience with music, we're not necessarily going to layer things the same way we might for some of those older grades, right? Like if we're layering like so mi and then la and then do and then whatever your melodic sequence and then whatever your rhythmic sequence is, that's going to look a very specific way in terms of a concept-based lesson plan in those older grades, at least for me. In kindergarten, things tend to be a little bit more activity based, but that doesn't mean that they're devoid of like conceptual focus, right? So there's still a learning target. There's still sort of a learning outcome for students with each segment in my lesson. But I'm going to make sure that I hit each of these 5 things that we're going to talk about in these next 5 episodes each time that I'm with my kindergarten students. Do you want to add anything to that, Victoria?
Yeah, just to reiterate that kindergarten is a lot about building the context for learning.
Mm.
So, the most important contextual piece is that kids love music class and we love making music together in a community. So, that's what you're saying that it's not like, the learning target is not today we will do all of this stuff with notational literacy and have this very strict concept plan, that kind of thing. It's very exploratory and it's just building the foundation of all of these really positive musical experiences that we're going to extend in the future. So the play based kind of open ended stuff comes first in kindergarten.
Yeah, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. So my 2 big goals for kindergarten are number 1, to foster a love of music through musical play-like activities, right? So it all feels like a game. Even if
Mhm.
we're not talking about a game necessarily, it still feels like that to the kids. And number 2 is to lay the foundations in terms of repertoire and musical experience for that later learning when we
Yeah.
get into some of that more concept-focused stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just learning how to be in an ensemble. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh, look at that.
that's good.
Pulling it out.
Okay,
All right,
well
cool.
then, do you want to talk about vocal exploration? Do you want to do your activity?
Yeah, sure. So for me, vocal exploration is all about getting them to use their voice in different ways, right? So a lot of times we'll get into that by reading stories or talking about like different animal sounds, like all of those great things. And then eventually, I kind of like to take that broad focus of what vocal exploration is, and then get them narrowed into their singing voices, accessing their range, and then slowly moving toward matching pitch, right? So we might do something with
Mm.
4 voices where we just echo, "This is my speaking voice."
This is
Yeah, this is my oh, excuse me, this is my whispering voice. Then this is my shouting voice. And then this is my singing voice, right? So they get used to those 4 different voices. And then we start to kind of, recall those sporadically in different activities, including the one I'm about to share. And then slowly move toward a matching pitch. So when you think about vocal exploration, at least for me, it's not just about like sirens or a slide whistle. That's part of it, but it's really more about truly exploring your voice and seeing all the different things it can do in terms of volume and register and tempo and all of those comparative
mm.
things that are a kindergarten concept,
Yeah.
but getting again into that singing voice, accessing our range, and then slowly moving toward matching pitch.
Mm.
So, one of the things that I love to do is 1, 2, buckle my shoe, which is just a good old fashioned rhyme that I learned, growing up. And if you don't know it, it just goes like this: 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up 6. Oops, I broke my microphone. Sorry. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, a big fat hen. Okay. So,
Cute.
some people say do it again. I say big fat hen. You'll see why I'm going to do that in just a little bit. So, it's a fun rhyme to say with our speaking voices, and we'd learn the motions and showing the numbers and come up with whatever your pantomime thing is for all of the not number text, right? And then I'm going to say, well, but we've learned how to use our different 4 voices in the music room. So I love, 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 love music. Singing voice is my absolute favorite. My second favorite subject is math. So whenever we say number, we're going to sing those numbers, and it's going to look like this: 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up 6. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, a big fat hen. Oh, yeah. So then after we've done that, we can change things up a little bit. So since we've already decided that numbers are always going to be in our singing voice because music is my favorite and also so is math, then what should we do the other motion parts? What voice do we know that we could do those other motion parts in, Victoria? We already tried speaking. Should we try something different?
I'm going to say whisper, but I know that they'll say
Oh.
shouting.
They'll say shouting some, and if you've done like other games, they might be, let's do it in our robot voice, or like let's do it in like our sloth voice, or like whatever it might be. And I say like go crazy, right? Because it's a vocal exploration, and I'm really interested in the singing part. And so as long as we're maintaining focus to some degree on that piece, and we're
Uh-huh.
getting that pitch matching at least roughly, then I'm cool with that. And then we always return back to the original way, right? So play,
Mhm.
do the game, let them be silly, and then come back to like, oh, let's just try that singing and speaking thing again. And then that kind of lets you focus back in on that singing voice as well. So then a further step for that is, since you guys have gotten so good at this rhyme, let's do something different. And I have a rooster puppet and I forgot to grab it. So pretend my hand is my rooster puppet. When the rooster is on somebody's shoulder in the circle, that means it's their turn to sing our numbers. So, for example, if the rooster is sitting on Miss Ann's shoulder, it's your turn to go 1, 2, buckle my shoe. And then Victoria, it might be on your shoulder for the next one, and you would sing
3, 4.
3, 4. And I would help them too, right? And then just show the example. And then, oh, look, it's over on Bobby's. 5, 6, pick up 6. Oh, it's over on Emily's. What's next? Whatever the next numbers is. And right, but as you're doing it, you can just kind of show and sing, and they'll get it. And then that's a way for you as well to go ahead and do some quick assessing and see if they're getting that distinction between the speaking and the singing voice. And even if other kids in this particular instance are singing when it's not their turn, your proximity is close enough that you're going to be able to
Mm.
hear that child and whether or not they're getting it, or whether they're non-responsive, whether they don't feel confident. You get a lot of information from that activity. Right. This is something, we mentioned, that's kind of it, but this is something that we mentioned briefly about how like they can give whatever voice they want to. So it pairs well with other like use your different voice games like Good King Leopold if you use that in your classroom, or some other things like that. So
Mm.
that's it.
I love that. Something that you maybe you said it in just in a way that I hadn't thought about it in like these terms, but the idea of moving toward matching pitch, and I like this this activity for combining a singing voice with a speaking voice,
Mhm.
because for all of the different vocal exploration and like in a true sense like exploration activities that we do, kids still think about, and this is just like an issue of semantics, like it's not true or
Right.
false, it's not black and white, it's just like music vocabulary kind of thing, and we just need to be aligned on vocabulary so we know what we're talking about. But if you do a rhyme like bee bee bumblebee, kids will
Bumblebee.
say that
Mhm.
it's a song because it's something that we're chanting in a rhythm, and so we're going to say it's not a song, it's a rhyme because it uses
Rhyme.
our speaking voice. But to a kid,
Mm.
it's all the same. Like any type of
Mhm.
musical experience, a spoken chant or a whisper thing, anything like rhythmic in a cadence or in a metric context automatically
Mm.
becomes a song. And so to
Mhm.
combine the difference in one song rhyme, in one work, I think is just insanely valuable.
Yeah, well, and the name of the game of kindergarten is again we're laying those foundations, and kids, we talked about this before, kids learn from discrimination, right? They learn what something is by what it is not. So having all those contrasts, that's why we teach higher versus lower. That's why we teach faster versus slower, all that kind of stuff, so that they see what something is and then they get to do the opposite. That's why that's so
Mm-hmm.
important, right? So not that these are necessarily opposites, but having that contrast to your point is really meaningful, and being able to make that switch in a single context is a big deal. So yeah, that's a fun one. And hopefully an example of how things can easily extend and you can manipulate them to work for kind of that goal, right? Because one two buckle my shoe is a rhyme that I think most people I know and grew up with know, right? Or it's just kind of well known. And so it's an
Mm-hmm.
easy one to kind of manipulate to your purposes, if you will.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And then
Yeah.
the very last thing is this is very cohesive with your cuckoo game that you shared
Mm,
several
mhm,
episodes ago. But just like the procedure of when there's something on your shoulder, that means it's your
mm.
time, and that's an easy drag and drop kind of template that you are
Yes.
using for a lot of solo singing experiences. So I think that's really great that it's like it's so cohesive and it ties in like a lot of activities because kids are used to that procedure, or they will be,
Mhm.
like you're building again with the idea of just we're getting used to what it's like to be in an
An
ensemble. And one of the
ensemble.
ensemble experiences, this is a different conversation, but solo and ensemble is
Mhm.
a separate thing. So just building that template of one person sings and then everybody sings, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Me versus me alone versus my position in this ensemble. Yeah,
Yes,
which is something
absolutely.
we'll continue to talk about. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm,
I'm gonna do more along the lines of your traditional, what we might think of like traditional vocal exploration. So like your sirens and things like that. For this,
mm.
I will need to build a spider web because I have not done it yet. So will you take your hands out and you're following my motions? Doña Araña se fue a pasear. Hizo un hilo y se puso a trepar. Vino el viento, la hizo bailar. Vino la tormenta, la hizo bajar. So Doña Araña went for a walk. And then she spun her web. She was climbing up. She danced at the top. And then the wind came and she came back down. What does this sound like
Mm.
to you, Anne? Do you know
Like
a
the itsy
song that's
bitsy
kind of like,
spider.
oh, it is kind of like the itsy
Yeah.
bitsy spider? That's so exciting. Will you be my echo? Ooh,
Woo, woo, woo.
ooh, that's a pretty good spider web. Let's try this one. Ooh,
Ooh.
ooh,
Ooh.
good. And Zoom might cut out our audio there. This time and several classes later, I remember that we were building a spider web together for a lot of weeks. This time, you do not have to build the same spider web that I do. This time, you can build your own spider web. So maybe if I say, ooh, that's what mine looks like. You might go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Or if mine goes like this, ooh, yours might say, ooh, ooh, ooh. Whatever kind of spider web your spider wants to build today, they can do that. Are you ready, Anne?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, ooh.
Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Good. Ooh.
ooh. Ooh.
Good. So then, several steps later, I am tired of being, Doña Araña is tired of being the main spider. So this time, could
Mhm.
someone else build a spider web? And we will choose if we are going to copy them or build our own. You can copy what they're doing and build like a matching spider house if that's what you want to do. Or you can decide that you want to build something different and do something different with that. So this is a song, Doña Araña is a song that I use for everything. I have like a 30
Mm.
million variations of this, of like extensions for this song, but I really, really, really like it. And the imagery of the spider moving that they can visualize, like the actual spider web in the air that they're kind of tracing, helps with the vocal exploration piece there as well.
Yeah.
One last thing for this is if students don't walk into kindergarten already, familiar with this song, like if they're not Spanish speakers, that's fine. They don't have to sing along with me. In fact, they're
Mhm.
not going to sing along with me. The only thing that they're doing while I'm singing is doing the spider motions with their hands, and then they're going to echo the vocal exploration piece. So even on the very first, in the very first lessons of kindergarten, this is something that we can do even if they don't know the song. They can still participate.
Yeah, I love that. I have lots of things to say about the vocal exploration, but first I want to talk about what you just said. So I think that and we've talked about this in other episodes in terms of other contexts, about singing for versus with your students. And I think
Yes.
what you just mentioned is really important. So in kindergarten, not only might they be unfamiliar with the song, but they might just be unfamiliar with somebody singing, period. Like when they walk into your classroom, if you're a predominantly singing classroom, which you probably are if you're listening to this podcast, but if kids are coming into your classroom and you're singing everything and you're singing your transitions and you're singing your instructions, at first they're gonna be like, "What?" And then they're gonna be like, "Oh!" And then it's just like kind of a magical thing. And so this idea that you're singing to them, whether it's a song in a different language or it's a song that's not their native language, or it's singing a song tail at the end of class or whatever it might be. I think in kindergarten, especially, it's really important to intentionally sing for your students, right? And then just as like a teacher aside, like it's always better to sing for them rather than with them, so that they really know the material, and you're not just like falling back on that because you want like the participation, right? So that's just something I wanted to mention. Do you have anything to add before I go on to your other
No,
stuff?
I think we can move on. But yeah, there's a lot that I
Okay,
could add. I think that's,
sure.
I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, cool. So what I love about this is that they get to choose, and they can choose to copy and they can choose to do something different. And so those kids who don't yet feel super confident in their own voice and their own vocal exploration skills, they have like that safeguard. Like you can do the same thing or you can do something different. Like it doesn't matter. So that's really, really nice. Something else that I loved about the different examples that you gave is that you did a wide variety of contour,
Mm,
range, and articulation.
yeah.
So it wasn't just ooh, 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 ooh. There was lots of ooh. There was boop, boop, boo. Like lots of different, like staccato versus legato, lots of high
Mhm.
versus low in isolation, lots of higher to lower. And so getting like that repertoire again, if we're thinking about vocal exploration in terms of like wide into narrow, that gives
Mm.
kids a lot of really good vocabulary in terms of what their voice can do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then that pairs really nicely with what you were talking about like we have our singing voice and our speaking voice, but within singing voice, there's so
Yeah.
much that we can do, right? And then within speaking voice, there's also so much that you can do. Like you talked about like a silly voice or a robot voice or whatever it is. So, thinking about vocal exploration as really like vocal competency, not
There you
pitch
go.
matching. We're not talking about
Mm-hmm.
pitch matching. You don't have to be a good singer, right? And you don't have to be able to access your head voice or anything like that. We are just like doing a lot of vocal exploration. And then what we find is when it's time to match pitch, we're not asking for that big of a jump, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference, and we can talk about this later. We can wrap this up, but the the differences in pitch matching between, is it an ear thing that they don't
Mm.
hear the pitch accurately and so they're not sure when they're matching pitch, or is it just a vocal agility thing that they don't have the
Mm.
mechanism in place yet to produce those sounds? So starting with vocal exploration, like in the actual sense of the word, like truly exploring all the different things that our voices can do, that helps with this piece over here, just making sure that we have um, the vocal mechanism functioning in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, and just to put a bow on it, I mean, my learning target, like, again, we talked about activity versus concept-based lessons. So if this was my concept that I'm like making sure I'm assessing and going down my checklist and all the things, my learning target or my lesson objective or my student objective, whatever your terminology is I can use my voice in different ways.
Yes,
The
exactly.
end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a really nice place to pause for next week when we're going to keep going through like some more kindergarten experiences that we can have. But just for this episode, wrapping it up, to say our voice is capable of so much more than so and me, right?
Mm.
We can do so much more than just singing and just singing so and me and just singing, oh, I don't know, like a pentatonic song. Like our voice is capable of so many cool things. And kindergarten is a really fun time to start making all of these experiences start to click into place so that we can expand them later on in the year and later on in future grade levels.
Yeah. And never once did we talk in either of our activities about like any of the finer points about making sure you're matching pitch or singing voice or, oh, you didn't go quite high enough or you didn't go quite low enough. It really, truly is exploration, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So, this is just one of 5 episodes in this kindergarten series. Again, if you want to go check out teachingmusictomorrow.com, we'll link it down below. And you can go get access to all the things with some extra things. And we will see you guys next time.